what's up? Welcome to the Pulse Ox podcast. This is Eric Stopper. Today on the show, we have Tomislav Marjanovic, a former law enforcement officer turned model, amateur bodybuilder, and entrepreneur. During his law enforcement career, and I want to hear a story about this AK in his face, but Tomo was awarded the Public Safety Medal of Valor for his exceptional bravery and sacrifice to ensure the safety of others. In 2019, Tomo founded Aspire Rejuvenation Clinic, a premier wellness center and medical clinic that expanded to multiple locations alongside a high-end nutraceutical company, Aspire Rejuvenation Nutraceuticals. And we'll post a bit about the cement factory as well. But this guy is all over the place. You can find him on social media. He's super easy to find, and he's got content all over, almost 100,000 followers. And welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Looking forward to bringing some value to people. Let's get into it, man.
Yeah. So first, I'm going to talk to all the like doctorpreneurs out there. So you are not an MD, correct? You're like
no.
Corporate practice medicine type guy.
No. So I have zero medical training, formal medical training. I do have a lot of informal medical training. I have multiple certifications in bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I actually snuck into a few seminars where I ended up getting certified, which was a funny story. I was the first and only, from what I understand, because I tried to send other people, and they said, no, this is for doctors only. So when they gave me my certificate, yeah, they had doctor in front of them. I'm like, no, I'm not a doctor. They freaked out. They weren't happy about that. But, I passed all the tests. I went through all this training, and I kind of slipped through the cracks. But yeah, non-traditional medicine. I was an autodidact in hormone therapy, endocrine systems, everything through my bodybuilding and fitness career. So I learned everything there was to know. And we're talking, starting in 2003. So before the internet was the internet it is today. So I'm learning from manuscripts, from books, from articles, from medical journals. I'm learning all this stuff about hormones, anabolics, endocrine systems, everything you can think of that has to do with hormones in the human body. So by the time I'm, in my 30s, I was basically a quote unquote expert, whatever that means, just without a degree. So yeah, sure. I mean, yeah, a businessman, really. I'm a businessman who has passions about several things.
Have you found it difficult partnering with doctors? Have you found that you have to speak a different language or act a certain way in order to get their attention, in order to work with them?
No, I don't think so. I can speak their language from a general standpoint, but most of the doctors that I want to work with, they're not people that are really like that. When I hear somebody that tries to speak, I don't want to say it's too off-putting for people. When I hear somebody speak almost too intelligently, they try to use big words just to use big words, right? You ever see those kind of people?
Of course. Whenever
I have something like that, where I have a medical guy, I'm like, okay, this guy thinks way too highly of himself. He's way too serious about himself. He needs to bring it down. He needs to relax on it. For me, I'm always big on breaking it down to simplistic terms. I don't need to confuse somebody to make somebody feel like they're less intelligent than me. I want to bring this high line, top level knowledge down to a bottom level so everybody can understand it. And whenever I speak to medical professionals, doctors, practitioners, when I hire them, whatever, I always speak to them like I would with you, like I would with anybody else. Can I use fancy words? Can I get into nitty gritties of chemicals and, chemical structures on these drugs and everything? Sure, I can. But what's the point? If 3 people in the room only understand that, why am I going to even refer to it like that? I want to talk to everybody in the room. I want to talk to everybody that is looking at this modality that we've developed.
So how did you find your first doctor partner to help with Aspire? How did you get in contact with that person?
So, the first medical director, when I first started, it was a friend of the nurse practitioner that I hired. And I mean, just like you hire anybody else, Indeed, whatever. You can hire medical directors and you can find them in the marketplace. It's difficult to find ones that can understand what I'm doing. But again, there's all kinds, the thing with our practice, the thing with Aspire Rejuvenation and, what we do and how we look at hormones, holistic health through hormones, regenerative medicine, the doctor has to believe it. They have to understand and believe what we're doing, because if they don't, that means they're still in the old school, mainstream medicine type model, which is a Band-Aid operation. They put Band-Aids on things, you know. Oh, here's your symptoms. Band-Aid, Band-Aid, Band-Aid. We're trying to solve underlying issues. We're trying to solve, a totality of a health condition by looking at your major hormones. So when you look at your major hormones, you can literally cascade everything down the line. I'm talking about major sex hormones. You can almost cascade everything down the line and heal yourself because your body's a remarkable healing machine. So optimizing these hormone levels in your body, making sure your body is functioning properly as the machine it is, will make you a healthier person. It sounds so simple, you know. And when people hear about it the first time and they're so bought into the mainstream medicine, well, why aren't normal doctors doing this? Why isn't the mainstream medical community doing this? Why isn't FDA talking about this? Money, ladies and gentlemen. If I can solve all your problems with 1 or 2 bioidentical hormones that can't be patented, I just took potentially millions of dollars from somebody that was a patient.
You mentioned, so most of my clients, I would say probably 95% of them are all cash pay. Aspire's cash pay, right? It sounds like
we are cash pay. We could take like HSA and FSA.
Okay.
So, you know, we can do that, but traditional insurance will never cover this. They don't want this.
So you spoke about the FDA, and back in October, almost a month ago now, on the money, the FDA released a ban on peptides.
Yep.
I want to get your thoughts on that, and I want to understand from that list of peptides, which one are you most chapped about? Which of those are you a bit furious made the list?
So the peptide ban, when people talk about it being banned, it's not truly banned. It's not illegal. They didn't schedule it. They didn't put it on a scheduled drug list. What they did is they went after the raw materials. Okay. We had a guy on my podcast, and anybody can check it out on YouTube. We had the director and the founder of Clinical Peptide Society. He and I are both also members of the International Peptide Society. So, you know, and he's right down the road, similar practice to mine, but he very, very much was in peptides. And he's got savepeptides.org. It's a petition to basically petition Congress, petition the FDA to, you know, restore what peptides were. But this is what the FDA did. They went after raw materials. They said there was dangers behind them. They basically said there's not enough studies behind them, which some of these peptides, it's crazy because some of them are decades old with numerous pieces of evidence on what they can solve and what they heal. So they're helping millions of people. So what they did is they removed the option for people to actually get these drugs. Very, very sad. The one that chaps me the most is BPC 157, body protective compound 157, one of my favorite peptides on the planet, one of my favorite drugs. I think one of the most important drugs out there. So what this is it's healing tissue, and it's naturally occurring in your body. It's in your gut. So BPC 157, that amino chain, and let me clarify this, these are simply amino chains. That's what a peptide is. It's an amino chain that is developed. My favorite one happens to be developed in Croatia, where my family from. Obviously, you guys can see Tomislav Marjanovic, right? I am 100% Croatian. You can tell by the name. But BPC 157 was derived originally in Croatia. And the healing properties of it are incredible. I get tendonitis. I'm an ex-bodybuilder. I get tendonitis in my elbows, both sides, every 3-4 months. I would take BPC 157 instead of getting a cortisol shot or any other type of surgical intervention. My problem with my elbow is gone in less than 30 days. We've had people, athletes, bodybuilders, police officers heal catastrophic injuries that they said they're definitely going to have surgery on. Heal them. No surgery needed. And then you have post-surgical recovery. You can recover in half the time. So this is a drug that's very naturally occurring, and it helps millions of people. Why are they going after it?
Is there a natural alternative or a way that people can get BPC 157 through, a plant? Can they go into the hills of Croatia and find some sacred flower and distill it into a tea that helps them?
I wish it was that easy. I mean, the only way that you can really help your body heal better, food and water supply, making sure you're doing things like getting out in sunlight, vitamin D, optimizing your hormone levels. So BPC 157, we're talking, this is a targeted approach. It is a healing peptide. They call it the Wolverine peptide. If you're a X-Men fan, if you're a Marvel fan, Wolverine can heal himself super fast. This is what they called this peptide for a reason. if you want to heal better as a man, a woman, as anybody, especially as you get older, you need to have better hormone levels. For men, testosterone; for women, estradiol, progesterone, testosterone. Everybody, growth hormone levels, huge. They all drop off after the age of about 28, 30. They start dropping off pretty drastically. So, other peptides that are secretagogue peptides increase your natural growth hormone levels through your pituitary gland. My favorites. There's still a couple out there that we can use. But some of the best ones, ipamorelin, CJC 1295, I love that combo. They'd increase my growth hormone levels just like I was taking 2 or 3 IUs of growth hormone.
So if somebody wants to get their levels tested to understand if they need to balance their hormones in the first place, can I send them to you? Can I send them to Aspire? How do they get that done?
Yeah, so it's really easy. I mean, we do this for patients all the time, and we are people get nervous because there's a lot of people in our industry that will basically make you pay membership fees. They lock you in contracts. You have to do a mandatory medication purchase in the beginning, or they just gouge you like crazy for your initial consult. So people have a nervous reaction to this. This is how cash pay medicine is. The way we look at it, we've always been educationally approached. We approach every patient from an educational standpoint. So let's say you, Eric, come to the clinic. Hey, I want to get my stuff tested. I don't know what's up. I don't really feel 100%. I heard about you guys. I want to see what's up. Cool. You can get into our clinic, $250, which includes your full lab panel, probably a more comprehensive lab panel than you've ever had in your life. And you have a full hour, 45 minutes to an hour with a nurse practitioner or doctor that's specially trained, specially certified. WorldLink Medical certifies our people. A4M certifies our people. 2 very well known in the hormone industry. So you're going to sit down with a specialist for up to an hour, and you're going to go over line by line everything in your labs. You're going to go over everything in your medical history, anything that's aching you, ailing you, bothering you, any concerns you have. And then you can walk out with that lab panel and all that information, and you can say bye, and you can take all that to a different doctor. We don't care. This is an education thing for us. So what that has done for us is it's showing a measure of trust from us. We are here because we literally are wanting to help you. If you want us to help you, we're here. We don't push medications. We only guide. We say, hey, you have these problems. We know this can be fixed with A, B, C. Okay. They're like, well, what now? Well, now it's your decision. Now you get to take control of your own health journey. And by doing that, we really empower the patients. And it's something they're not used to. It's something that they'll maybe like walk away. And then like a couple of weeks later, they're like, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. I didn't do this now.
Yeah. How would you respond to people who say, well, I have insurance. I can just go get this from my urologist or somebody else?
I absolutely would tell them if they have insurance, if the urologist or their endocrinologist or their gynecologist, if they are skilled and they understand what's going on in the hormone realm and longevity and anti-aging and using hormones for a holistic health reason, it's awesome. More power to you. We've had people that have, friends of mine where they're like, hey, I found a new endo and he does exactly what you guys do and my insurance covers it. I'm like, bro, high five, get out of here. I don't need you. It's all fine. I'm good. The problem is those are few and far between. We are so specialized that we actually have, I don't know how many it is now, but I want to say it's a few dozen. We have a few dozen local endocrinologists that come to our clinic for their personal treatment.
Wow.
So when I saw that, when I started hearing that from my practitioners, I'm like, okay, so we are the specialized version of the specialists. This is pretty cool.
Now, do you offer any sort of life coaching or general life optimization with your treatment plans? Because optimizing hormones is one thing, right? You get them to feel good, but is there a path that you set these people on? Is there any sort of learning or resources or directions that you point them to help address, maybe some of the mindset portions of their life or the neurocognitive pieces of their personality that they want to optimize?
Yeah. So with us, we're really staying specialized on the hormone side. We have partners and we have, and they're not even monetary partners. These are just people that we know. We have people that we will send them to where it's like, hey, if you want to help with X, we have personal trainers, we have dietitians, we have a few life coaches and mental health coaches that we can offer people, but we address everything from a holistic nature first. We deny people medications all the time. You know, if we have like a 25-year-old guy and he comes in and he's like, yeah, I'm having a hormone issue. We check all his hormones are shit. And then we start talking about his lifestyle. He's sedentary, plays video games all day, eats McDonald's all day, right? And doesn't sleep well, or he's up all night and sleeps during the day. Brother, you have a lifestyle problem. You probably don't even have a hormone problem. Let's fix the lifestyle stuff first. Let's see how you respond. Maybe you don't need us. So we always approach it from that perspective first.
That's prudent. So that leads me to my next question. So what is one thing that you would encourage everybody to cut out of their life right now to help improve their natural hormone production? And on the inverse of that, what is one thing that you would have them add to their life other than the actual treatment itself that might help them with their natural hormone production?
Man, I'm going to tell, it's a couple pronged approach, but I'm going to say, you know, what you intake. So what you intake. So whether that's intaking this, right? Phone, social media, bullshit, constant, you're right. So that's what you're intaking. So this is really bad for your mental health. And people also don't realize how bad it is for your sleep cycle when you are constantly looking at this right up until the moment before bed. It is very, very bad for you. Intaking things like what you eat, what you drink. I am really, really, really big on water supply and really big on food sourcing. 99% of what we eat in this country, in the United States, is poison. It's toxic. Even when you say, oh, well, I got a really nice lean steak and I got some nice, whatever, brown rice. Okay, where did the steak come from? Where did the rice come from? Did you look at the ingredients? Did you look at where it's processed? Did you look at all the things that are happening?
Does a typical grocery store give you any sort of sourcing information about the steak that you're eating or the rice that you're sourcing? I mean,
not really.
Uncle Ben's isn't going to tell us about the source of their rice, are they? They're just going to sell it to us.
They're really not. But I mean, when you go through big companies like Uncle Ben's, you probably understand that that's not going to be the best quality, and it's mass produced. You know,
I would say that we're probably wrong to assume that people are thinking that, oh, like this big company means that it's going to be lower quality. They're probably thinking that it's going to be of higher quality because it's better sourcing, more infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And so I guess maybe an adjusted question, is there a supplier of food stuff in the U.S. economy that actually does a good job of sourcing organic and that we can consistently rely on the sourcing of their products to help fuel us with the actual good stuff that you're talking about?
There's not one, there's many. But the problem is that once these companies become big enough, what happens is they end up getting gobbled up by the larger companies. So one of the scariest models, and I'm sure you could find it and pull it up, one of the scariest models I've ever seen, it's like almost like a pie chart, but it's a circular chart expanding outwards. It shows four major companies. Okay. And these companies, these conglomerates own these big pharma companies, and these big pharma companies are also the same ownership structure as the big food companies. So when you look at this stuff and you see that the major corporation here in the center not only owns the ones that are making your drugs, they're the ones that are producing your food. So now when you look at that, how much more of a perfect, I don't want to say this in a weird way, but how much more of a perfect entrepreneurial venture is it to make food in a certain way, to get your population to suffer a certain type of effect, to then need your medications, and then the cycle just progresses and progresses and progresses. Now we're going into the tinfoil hat conspiracy theories here.
I'm into it. Let's go deep. A layer deeper.
This is what I see. And you know what? People are so afraid to look at what's in plain sight, you know, but all you have to do, have you ever been to Europe?
Yeah, once.
Okay. So how long were you there?
Like 3 days.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to need you. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to drag you to Europe. I want you to go now.
I'm going to Croatia as soon as possible to look for that mythical BPC flower. We'll find it.
Listen, you're going to love Croatia. If you can go to Croatia, you're going to love it. UK is a bad example because UK mimics a lot of what the US does. When you get into Southern Europe, going into the Mediterranean areas, the way they eat and what they eat, And you'll notice that depending on the season you're there, the foods change because they're using what they grow. And you're getting stuff from local farms, local producers, local farmers that have pigs, that have cattle. They don't eat beef all year. They don't eat pork all year. They have seasons for things, right? Artichoke season, huge in Italy. So, you'll eat artichokes for 3 months straight in different ways, but that's how they do stuff. So, when you talk about food sourcing, you talk about what can I do? And unless you're in like New York City is going to be a horrible example because it's a giant metropolitan area. There is no farmers. You have to import your food from other places. You're going to be in some trouble trying to find really, really clean stuff, or you're going to spend a lot of money. But, here, I'm in Orlando. Orlando is a big metro area. But I can drive 15, 20 minutes. I can find farms. I can drive 30 minutes and find really big rural farms. So finding and aligning yourself into these areas, go to farmers markets, get your veggies from there, get your meats from there. Food sourcing is huge. How do you get rid of the idea of these giant grocery stores using these giant conglomerate corporations that are producing food? How do you get away from them? Stop buying their shit. You know what I mean? Can you imagine what kind of structure, what kind of difference we could make in society with our health? Because diabetes, obesity, mental health, hormone declination, all these things, all linked, right? So cancers, all these things, issues. Why do I have men coming to my clinic at 25 to 30 years old having declination of testosterone into they look like they're 80-year-old men in their labs? How is that happening? It doesn't make sense. It's because what they're intaking. It's because of all the poison and shit in the food. It's because of what they're drinking in their water. Tap water, worst thing in the world for you. You have to get filtration systems. I had a viral video go out about the water supply and what's in it. All of the different progestins and estrogens from the prevalence of birth control. That shit doesn't get filtered out. Why are men becoming less masculine? Again, tinfoil hat theories here. Why are men becoming less masculine? Why are we becoming smaller, weaker versions of what our grandfathers and great-grandfathers were? Well, everything that we drink in the water supply is estrogens and progestins. Could be something.
Does a Brita filter, something like that, help curb that specific issue?
No, so
give us a simple solution to the water problem, because that's an easy one that you can give everybody. How do we optimize our water in just a normal HOA covered neighborhood?
Yeah, so you can get like the big filter systems in your garage, and this is an investment, and people kind of gave me some shit on social media about this, well, that's like $1,000 system. I'm like, you have any idea how much it's going to cost you for your healthcare over the amount of years? So if I tell you that I want you to have a whole home water filtration system that costs $1,000 to $1,500 installed in your home, and now you have fresh, clean water that is now going to be not hard water. Hard water is the worst thing for you too. The amount of minerals and toxins that come through hard water is gross. If you looked at your pipes outside your house, oh my God, Google it. Google what water pipes look like gross water pipes. Google that. It's disgusting. So when you think about drinking that stuff, get a whole home water filtration system. If you want to go a step further, get an under sink reverse osmosis system to get the fluoride and the rest of the shit out. People will argue with me about, reverse osmosis. Oh, it takes all the minerals out. You need salts. Well, you should be adding electrolytes, salts, magnesium into your diet anyway. So, when I drink water, I'm drinking out of a plastic bottle today. This is BPA free, so it's okay. Essentia, it's a good water brand. It's expensive. But, this water is super filtered. It doesn't have a lot of electrolytes in it. I add electrolytes into it. So I add, calcium, magnesium, salts into the water. Has a little bit of flavoring. That's really important for me. But, when I started optimizing my water, dude, my skin is better. My hair is better. My health is better. I have more energy. I'm more hydrated. Everybody in this country is perpetually dehydrated. It's crazy.
So switching gears a little bit here. I've heard you talk in the past about the difference in testosterone, the difference in masculinity between our generations and our grandfathers and great grandfathers, right? How there's this objective difference between the two of them, right? If we take the studies, we can see that there has been a slow decline in overall testosterone levels over the last 100 years, right? So at least the data that we do have. So I want to think towards the next generation. I have a couple questions for you about this. Do you have any kids? I
have one kid on the way.
Congratulations. When do they due?
Thank you. About 3 weeks.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Mazel tov, my man. That's exciting.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
So I have one on the way in April as well. So
congratulations.
We can exchange babies or something. I don't know.
We'll both stress together. I'm going to probably have a little more gray hair than you. We'll see.
Pump a little bit more testosterone. Maybe we'll see, right?
There we go.
It'll be the best thing you ever do. So you're especially in the trenches of these types of thoughts. Okay. So what would you tell all of the parents out there who have specifically a son,
mm-hmm.
who is tending to be much more feminine?
Sure.
They're not necessarily saying, hey, I'm a girl, like I want to go through a transition. It's not like that. It's just they're a little bit less, go to the gym. They're a little less, they're picking up flowers instead of picking up rocks. It's just they're a little bit more feminine.
Sure.
What would you encourage those parents to do in the approach of raising a son? Would you encourage them to try and introduce more masculine things to this child, or would you encourage them to maybe take the hands off the wheel a little bit more and just kind of let it take its ride? What's your advice to parents who have a little bit more of a feminine son in their family?
So, this gets into some political realms and some realms that, people kind of get a little bit weird about. So when I think about a feminine boy or a masculine girl, right? Everybody's heard of tomboys, right? Sure. So, my girl was tomboy when she was growing up. She tomboy now? No. Did she transition because she liked masculine things? No. Do I know boys that, we've all had friends where it's like, a little boy, you see pictures of it, right, from the past. A little boy that maybe puts on his mom's heels and like, joking around. Yeah. So, something fun, something like whatever. It doesn't mean anything. The problem is how we react to it now. So this is what I truly see is mostly the issue, is that we look at that and we immediately put them into an adult situation. So like, we think like, well, me as an adult, if I was, I'm 38 years old, if me at 38 starts putting on heels and start walking around and giggling and having fun, people are going to think that's freaking weird, right? This dude's got a screw loose. But if you look at it from a perspective of like a child, he's trying to learn himself, right? So he's trying to, I guess the best way for me to put it, he's trying to learn what life is about. What is life about? What is being a boy? What is being a girl? You have to let him experience these things. But like, a kid picking up flowers, a kid picking up a Barbie, a kid liking arts, a kid liking music, a kid, boy or girl, doesn't matter, or a girl liking dirt bikes or a girl liking cars. There's no problem with it. You have to let them figure it out. You have to let them kind of make their way through this world. The problem is when we start inputting our own adult perspectives into the mind of a child, this child is not thinking about being a boy or a girl. This child is trying to figure out what life is. So putting our masculine and feminine perspective from an adult, from up here, you can't do that to a 5-year-old. You can't do that to an 8-year-old. Can you do that to a 16-year-old? Is there now starting to be some things? Maybe these are things we want to start looking at,
I think the research around child rearing mostly indicates that we should take a step back and learn from them. So from your perspective, right, you've got a successful business, you're about to start an additional member of your family. Tap into that childlike Tomo and tell us, what is life about from your perspective? You've been on here 38 years. Have you found your why? Is there a why? Is there any purpose to this life on earth? Is it totally individual? What is the point of life, and what is your why?
Man, for me, it's, and people can say it's a two-pronged thing. What is your purpose in life? I don't know. Is there a purpose? Yes, I think there's a purpose for everybody to better something in life. I think that every single one of us, whether you better one person, whether you can impact one single person from your words, your actions, your business, your perspective, anything, the person who only lived 20 years, right? Let's say that young man or woman that only lived 20 years, they did something along their life, I hope, to impact people, right? Was their life not worth it now because they only lived 20 years? No, it was amazing. They had an amazing 20 years. I'm hoping they impacted somebody. The problem is when people live their entire lives and they're so scared of taking risks and so scared of failure and so scared of all the things that life has to offer, and they just kind of muddle by, right? And then when they're on their deathbed and they're 80 years old and they live this long life that should have been fulfilling, they're not fulfilled. They didn't impact anybody. They went to work, they did their 9 to 5, they went home, they watched TV, they had 1.5 kids, they had their bungalow, they retired at the age of 65, they collected Social Security. Is that living? I don't know. I don't think so. I think there's something that I think we have unique abilities, every single one of us. You and I have a unique ability that a lot of people don't have on being on camera, being able to speak openly, being able to be honest. This is something that we need to leverage because it's very important. Other people have abilities to make music, to make art, to just smile at people, man. People like, you ever walk by somebody like on a street and someone just smiles at you the right way and you're just like, damn, that was great. That made my day, right? So, what's the purpose of life? Impact is to make an impact, no matter how small. Every ripple is something. So no matter how small that impact is, that's a purpose, but it is all individual. And I think people get hung up on all of the negatives that happen because they have that gap mentality instead of a gain mentality. These the victim mentality, right? These things happen to me, so I am blank. Instead of these things happen to me and now I can blank, right? Every single failure in my life, every single heartache in my life, every single problem that I ever had ended up leading me to a better path. It always does, if you really look at it that way.
So when you do experience failure as an entrepreneur, you obviously have, right? Anybody who's done anything worth doing has encountered just mountains of failure. The moment that it happens, the moment that the pain hits you, right, and that dark feeling of abyss hits you, what do you do? Give us the step-by-step Tomo playbook on when you encounter failure. What is the process that you follow from a practical standpoint to overcome that failure?
So I'll just preface everything by it's all the way you react to it. Okay. I'm a huge believer in stoicism. All right. So I think every man on the planet, and I think women too, but specifically we're going to talk about men. Men need to have a stoic behavior. Women are more emotional creatures than men. This is not a controversial topic. This is just how women are compared to men. They are more emotional. Okay. Men, when we become emotional, we have a larger capability of causing damage. We have a larger capability of violence. We have a larger capability of causing havoc. So men that are out of control of their emotions are problem men. So when we look at stoicism, it's all about the reaction to what happens in life. When a man goes through a failure, let's say a man goes through a breakup or a man goes through bankruptcy, right? Anything like you lose all your money or you lose your girl, right? Losing your girl, I think, is a huge thing for men. I think men don't talk about it enough. I think people think that men aren't emotionally mature enough to look at relationship breakups and say, hey, this is really harmful and hurtful. Men suffer, I think, more in breakups than women because women, when it really comes down to it, any woman, really, I mean, any woman, even the not so good looking women, if they put a post on Instagram and said, I need a man to come watch a movie with me tonight and we're going to cuddle all night, they will have a line of men out their door waiting for them to come in, right? If me and you do that, we're creepy.
Yep.
Okay. So, you know, a woman being single, they don't have to be single for a split second if they don't want to. For men, it's a little bit harder to rebound off of a breakup. All right, let's get back on topic here. How do I deal with failure? I don't think about it as a failure. I don't fail. I either win or I learn. There is no other option in my brain. So I had a meeting with accountants. I'll give you my little quick story on this. And we were going to take a loss on this business. And a business venture that I did, it's whatever, you know, we put in like 300 grand and we were going to basically exit and get 200 grand back. And my accountants are freaking out. We're going to lose 100 grand. Holy shit, it's horrible. How can we recover this and that? And I'm like, well, where does it put us? Like, where are we on the money? So, well, no, it doesn't affect this. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to lose 100 grand on this venture that we tried. And then I'm like looking at it and I'm like, hey, isn't it freaking cool that I could lose 100 grand and it could be okay? They're looking at me like I'm insane. They're like, no, you don't understand. We just lost 100. We're going to lose 100K on this venture. And I'm like, but isn't it cool that we can do that? And we all still have homes and we all still have jobs and we all still are paying the bills and the businesses are okay. And we could actually take that hit of 100K loss and we're good. What happened? I learned that I maybe don't need to go into that kind of venture. I learned that I maybe don't need to go in that kind of industry, even though I like it. Automotive industry. I love cars, but it didn't work. Right. So what happened? It was a $100,000 lesson, but it was cool that I could do it.
So I want to back up then. So that's you today. And I think everybody can learn from that, right? You either win or you learn. And that's very Epictetus of you, right? As far as stoicism goes, right? I think Seneca would be proud. We watch the pains as floating clouds, right, over the mountain tops. So I want to back up though. You weren't always like that. You didn't always have that outlook, unless you did. Did you just immediately?
I had to learn.
Okay, great. So you learned it over time. Can you tell me a specific time that the failure was what might have displaced you, or was actually going to be a failure that impacted you or the people around you, where you at least felt as if, whoa, like this failure is going to make me homeless? Was there any time like that you encountered? What happened, and what were the steps that you took to get yourself out of that?
So my transition from law enforcement into entrepreneurship was made out of desperation, basically. So I never wanted to be an owner of a business. I ended up being forced to be an owner of a business. I was a partner. I was a minority partner in a company, and I was super happy making the money that I made, and I had to leave because of some legal things. I'm an ex-cop, so when I heard some things that happened, and there's still lawsuits involved in this whole situation. So I can't be too detailed on the entire topic, but I'm in law enforcement and I'm at a police department, and I'm like, I need to get the hell out of here. I can't do this job anymore. It's awful. All right. So what's the next step from here? What would be a good transition? I looked at the FBI. So I look at FBI. I go through every single process of the testing. I breeze through all. These guys want me. They're like, oh, you're going to be an FBI agent, bro. Last thing I have to do is a physical test. And just so you know, people don't pass all these things first try. They take multiple tries. So I passed everything first try. I'm like, all right, I'm rock star in this shit. We're good. And physical test comes, and my PD finds out that I'm applying for this job. And I don't know if you know this about law enforcement, but they don't take kindly to that when you're leaving. So they put me in a bunch of BS internal affairs investigations, and they basically halt my exit into the FBI. Yeah. For like BS stuff. You know what I mean? Like they're saying I didn't do a report on some shit. And, these are things that you just don't take reports on because they're bullshit, right? But if you look at the letter of the rule, we're supposed to take a report on absolutely everything. They hem me up, right? They wouldn't have done it if they didn't find out that I was going to the FBI, is what it is. Blessing in disguise, right? I was distraught over this. I felt like such a failure. for weeks. And I'm like, these people just ruined my career. They ruined my life. I was upset. I was crying, I'm stuck here. And then my buddy, who I'm talking to, midnight shift, south side of the city. And he's like, man, the FBI is just another cop job. It's just, you just wear a suit instead of a uniform, and you work longer hours, and you still get the same shitty pension, and you still the same shitty pay, He's like, why don't you go and do something that you're really into? And obviously bodybuilding, fitness, all this stuff. And he's like, why don't you go talk to that guy that's owns a clinic that's you're getting the hormone therapy from, see if maybe you can work for him. I'm like, all right, try that. That's what happens. I end up going to this guy. He's a friend of mine. I'm getting testosterone treatment. Just so everybody is aware, I started my treatments at like 31 because 10 years on midnight shift, my hormones took a tank. So, that's what happens. Lifestyle issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing I can do about it. So I go there. I'm like, hey, do you have anybody doing sales and marketing? It's like, man, I really need one. I said, okay, it's me. So you're a cop. What are you talking about? And I was like, it's me. Trust me. He talks to me about stuff. He realizes how much I know. So how much do you want? I'm like, match my police salary. I write it down on a piece of paper. I know he laughs. So that's really, he got a deal. I said, match my police salary. So now I'm doing sales and marketing for a clinic, not so dissimilar from mine. And I'm transitioning out of this, and I am broke, bro. I am broke. I didn't realize how much overtime and extra time and, paid time off and all this stuff that I had through the PD. And now I'm getting none of that. So I spend the next 9 months unable to pay bills, unable to, do all these things. 9 months later, I helped build this company from like 700 patients to almost 4,000 in like 9 months. Guy offers me an equity play, 19%. I get my first equity check. I basically made as much money as I make in 6 months in law enforcement. It's like 30 grand. I cried like a baby. Saw that. I cried like a baby. Paid all my bills, felt great, whatever. Got my car fixed, got new tires in the car, got all this stuff done. That all got ripped away from me within a month. I get a call from a 3-letter agency basically saying there's some nefarious activities going on here. You need to get out. These are people that I know. They know me from law enforcement. 2.5 months later, I basically say I have to step out. I have to walk into that 3-letter agency office, and I have to go and make a statement. And, now I'm a witness in that case. Crazy shit. So now I'm like, all right, what do I do? Go back into law enforcement or go into the career field that I am? So I decide to take all of my money, all of my credit, don't pay my car notes, don't pay my house notes, get equity partners, and I decide to build what eventually turns into a Spire Rejuvenation Clinic. And I mean, I wasn't eating, bro. I would go into grocery stores and I have my debit card and I know there's $60 on there. And I go and I have a cart full of groceries. I'm super excited about it. And I go to the checkout, declined. I'm like, declined? I don't know what the hell's going on. So I go on my bank app. I'm on my phone right here. And I see it was like an insurance payment or something, $41 or 46. I have $11 in my account. So embarrassed. I leave the food there on the thing. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, ma'am. And I walk out. And I go home and I find whatever I can. I think I maybe had an old bag of rice somewhere that I made some rice and then maybe a can of canned chicken. So it's crazy. I don't think about that because that was not even 5 years ago. Not even 5 years ago I was there, So what I basically learned from how I dealt with failure, I felt every moment of that failure. I cried, bro, like crazy. I would start work crying. I'd leave work crying, barely able to pay payroll. I'm worried about everything. But where did it get me having those moments? And it's okay to cry. It's okay to have those defeated moments. But where did you pivot from that? And now that I realize that if you just put in the damn work and if you just understand that there's always a pivot point, the reactions don't actually matter. So that's where the stoicism thing came in. And it's funny because I talked to my mom maybe a couple weeks ago and I'm like, hey, do you realize that you're probably a pretty staunch stoic? And she's like, why do you say that? I'm like, because you always taught me when I was a kid, the thing she always used to say, she said, the only way to control the world around you is by controlling yourself and controlling your emotions. I was like, wow, man, just mom laying down the law, We
love you, Mom. Thank you.
Yeah. Her telling me that was huge. And I took that and I ran with it. And, my reactions of, you never really lose. You either win or learn. It's a huge way of looking at how you can live your life. If you look at everything like a learning experience and you can never fail, holy shit, is that empowering?
I think we'll end on that note, man. I don't think I can add anything else to that. I appreciate you coming on and sharing your insights and your story with us. Tell everyone where they can find you and what you're working on.
Yeah, so you guys can find the medical clinic if you're interested, aspirerejuvenation.com. You guys can find me, tomomarjanovic.com. I go by Tomo. My legal name is Tomislav. You can find me on all social media platforms at Tomo Marjanovic. Follow me on IG. Follow me on Twitter or X now, whatever it's called. YouTube channel and podcast channel is called Tomo Talks. Love for you guys to come consume the content. And again, man, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the conversations. I appreciate the questions. I really hope people get some value out of this. It's really important to talk about, optimizing your health, optimizing your mind, optimizing the way that you just live.
Beautiful. Thank you.
This has been the Pulse Ox Podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.